Alright guys, hello and welcome to the second episode here of HRL history, and you may be a little surprised to see what video it is. HRL 2017 Magna Tempus Moto 1. Now, I decided that I was originally going to go with a Halo Reach Supercross race, and I am still going to do that race. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it after this or if I'm going to do it maybe the one after that, I don't know. But I thought about it and I was like, I kind of want to have a bit of an element of surprise to this series. With when the episodes come out and stuff like that. Like I said, I don't want to be on too rigid of a schedule. I kind of want to do these, when I want to do them so that they come out the best that they can. And on top of that, I thought another nice thing would be to just like jump around instead of, because at first I was thinking like, oh, I should go through from Reach to 4 to 5, and then I was like, well, MCC to 5, and then I thought about it more and just realized that would just drag on, I feel like, and it might be a bit more fun if we just kind of jump around, like maybe one week do an old Halo 5 race, one week do an old MCC, one week do Halo 4 Reach, and maybe a couple weeks in a row we'll do some Reach races, maybe a couple weeks in a row we'll do some Halo 4 races. I think it'll be a bit more surprising and a bit more fun if we jump around a little bit. So that's why I decided to do that. And the reason why I picked this race in particular is because this is a huge race. Like, this race is the start of what we're still doing now, pretty much. So this race is like up there, top 3. Like, even though it's just the first race and it's not the craziest race, in just terms of an importance, this is one of the like top 3, if not the most important HRL race of all time. So I just thought it'd be cool to right away do an episode on this one, because even though it's only, look at this, January 22nd, 2017. That's crazy. Even though it's 2 years, like 3 months old or so. That's already quite a bit of time if you think about it. Like, that's a lot of time that has passed, and this race is very important today and was very important at the time, so I just wanted to go over it. So let's just get right into it. Magna Tempus. I'm gonna let myself, old self, commentate for a little bit, and then I'll kind of get into it. Guys, Stanley7 here with the intro. First HRL race of Season 3 of Halo 5 HRL. Season 1 was completed way back in February through April, and then we started Season 2, which got cut short, but now we're here to hopefully a full-on Season 3 in Halo 5. Going through the starting order here, as you can see on the screen, track we are racing is Magna Tempus, a track forged by Armada 223. And here we are at the gate. These drivers are about to go, and they're off to the green. What was that start? I was thrown off a little bit because launch started really early right there, and that wasn't really sure when to say green, but yeah, I still don't know what that was all about. But so this race, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the other history episode. Gonna go through just a bunch of different observations and insights, essentially. So I'm gonna be going through a little bit of everything here. First, I want to start off with, I think, good place to start. Obviously, the format. The format has changed tremendously. Something like minor changes every season, pretty much. But there's been a combination of minor and major format changes throughout every season of HRL from Reach to now. So that's like always a constant thing. So I wanted to go through this Season 3 format here a little bit. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you remember we had that 2-moto format here for Season 3. So that's how the feature event went. We had the 2 motos. No semis, no qualifying or anything like that. I believe it was heats and the motos. So that's kind of interesting because now in Season 11 we're doing heats and just the single moto, but it's kind of similar in a way. Because, of course, the one race that we do now, time-wise, kind of works out similarly to what 2 motos would be if you combine them. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting now that you think about it. Almost like a return to the roots there. Another thing about, like, returning to roots that's kind of interesting that going through this, like, kind of weird how that works out, is the randomized heat order. So the heats, I believe, like, the starting order for all the races in Season 3, for the heats at least, was randomized. And I believe we did like inverse order potentially for the feature, maybe, I would assume. Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, I think that's what we did. We did heats, just random orders for the heats, so who would be in which heat, stuff like that. That was all random, where they'd be starting. And then the feature starting order would be the reverse of that, and I'm guessing, I believe we had heat bonus points this season. I'd have to double check. There had to have been some incentive with it. I can double check on the side here. It was either inverse starting order for the heats, or it was inverse starting order. Oh, I know 100% it was inverse starting order for the for Moto 2. So like where you'd finish in Moto 1, you'd start reverse of that Moto 2. That I know for a fact. So I can check on the side here, see if I can figure out the whole heat starting order thing for sure, because I'm not 100% sure on that, but I am 100% sure on the Moto starting order. So that is kind of interesting though, how we came back to the randomized starting order for the heats and stuff like that, and how the format that we have in this current season is like one of the closest to this original format. Another thing here too is, of course, we didn't see the heats here, but the heats were a bit different. We went for more heats with less people instead of what we do now, which is usually like the 2 heats and we stack them. For example, at the recent race, Holy Gardens, of course, we had 2 heats there, and we had 19 people, so it was 10 people in one heat, 9 people in the other. If that was raced during Season 3, that would have been like, 4 heats of like 5 and then 1 with 4. Or it could have even been like 5 heats and splitting it up that way with like 4 people in all of them and then 3 in 1. So yeah, like the heats, there was a lot more heat variety in Season 3. So for example, like easy example, if we had a 16-man lobby, we would do 4 heats of 4. And then here, I think we did 2 heats of 4 because we had 8 people, so that's what we did. So yeah, heat order, bit different. The amount of heats that we did, a bit different. And that also, this is why I'm going to have to check how the heats worked out, because that would also obviously affect the starting order quite a bit, because the way we have it now, I mean, of course, in this current season we had the coin toss, but the way we've had it most of the time, we're like heat 1, you finish first in heat 1, you're starting first in the race, and then you finish first in heat 2, you're starting second, stuff like that. But this would have got a bit muddled, because, it's like, oh, we have first place in heat 1, 2, 3, and 4 lining up across those front 2 rows, so yeah, the random heat order, if you think about it, was actually huge, depending on which heat. If it was like a big lobby, that was huge. You don't want to be in the 4th heat. Let me see if I can pull up those docs on the side and see if I can figure out how that heat order worked. I'm going to I think that was some good insight for now. Let's let Luch commentate. Revenge. So that's already 4 right there, and then you have Opix, so there you go, there's 5. So the majority of the field here has wins in HRL. So a pretty experienced field, and then you have a driver like BT who's raced far in the past, and then a driver like Juns who's been racing lots on Reach but is more of a new driver on Halo 5, and then you have Moto who's just completely new to the whole thing. So it's a pretty diverse field in terms of experience here. I guess now that we have a bit of a lull in the race, Slaunch here working on Blades trying to get his 3rd place position. I could talk about a little bit of background on each of the drivers. Thought I'd try to do this at least for the first moto, and hopefully have some more background information as well for the second moto. So anyways, Luke is the owner of HRL, has a couple championships in HRL and plenty of wins, and he's running in 1st place position right now. And then in second you have Opix, who came into HRL in Season 2, has 1 win in HRL, because it was got lucky the last moto we did that season. He was able to win. Oh, roasted?
But he's also raced in ORL in the past and has some other experience on Halo. And then here we have Slaunch in 3rd. Papa Slaunch, same as Luke, several HRL championships, several wins. Slaunch and Luke probably by far have the most wins in HRL comparatively to anyone else.
I may do more
hopefully for
insights in the second one.
Some actual statistics on that, because
I think this commentary is interesting.
But all you need to know is that they probably far and away have the most out of the people in the field. And then in 4th, you have Blades, who has a couple HRL wins. I don't think he has a championship. Does he have a championship in ORL? I do not remember. I want to say that he did. But he did definitely... Whoa, sick 2-wheel right there.
Well, a little delayed.
Include that in the film. Hoping you guys didn't miss that. Make sure you rewind if you missed that one, because that was pretty sick. So yeah, Blades, I want to say that he did get an ORL championship, and then he also had several wins in ORL. So, a driver with ORL wins such as himself, he's going to be solid. And he's just coming back from a long hiatus of racing here, so he's just hoping to get some decent finishes. Next week we are racing Barvo, which is a NASCAR track, so look out for Blades there. I think he's going to be blazing fast. If I had to put money down on somebody to get at least 1 moto win there, I would honestly put my money down on him. Don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I'm just saying I think he'll be really fast there. So Blades definitely an experienced driver in pretty much all aspects. He's done SXGP, NASCAR, so coming into HRL with lots of experience. As we see Slaunch here try to catch up on Opix, is trying to reel him in, see if he can get this 2nd place position it's kind of fun to watch the different lines between the two and how they kind of stalk each other's lines and when.
So yeah, I was gonna go into some stuff like I did with the retrace, where I went through people's background stuff, but that was actually a really good time to cut to the commentary because it kind of just did that. So that worked out really well. So going at the heats, I think I had them mixed up. I believe I was correct. The Moto 2 would be the inverse of the Moto 1 finish for the starting order. For the heats, though, I think I was off on that. I think the heats, like wherever you finish in the heat, that would how we've had in past seasons determine your starting order. So like, you win your heat, you're going to be starting up front, stuff like that. I hope it was for season 3. It's too long ago. I can't even remember at this point, but that's what it seems to be from what I could gather. Yeah, we'll kind of short here for the first part. I'll have some more insight here in the second part. Let me let the commentary close out.
Like wild card type driver where you don't really know where he's going to be. He could either be really good somewhere in the middle or in the back, depending on the track. So that's what I'd say about him. BT, as you said earlier, veteran from Halo 3, as Luke comes here to take the checkered flag and the first moto win at Magna Tempus of HRL Season 3. Second place and third, we'll see that battle between Opix and Slaunch, and it looks like Opix is going to hold on to that second place, and Slaunch is going to pick up third. Blades in fourth. As we wait for the rest of the drivers to come down the field here. Looking like fifth, we're going to have Juns, sixth, Revenge. And then Moto will get seventh, and BT will get eighth. So there's your guys' first Moto here at Magna Tempus. I'll try to give you some more background on the rest of the drivers for the next Moto, trying to get you familiarized with these people each race. Hello guys, and welcome to Moto 2 of Magna Tempus, the first race for this new season of HRL. Going pretty well so far. First Moto was solid. Pretty interesting start to it with Slaunch's little early go, and then it was a little confusing from that point on. But after that, race was pretty clean, and lots of good battles and even some interesting wrecks, especially Jun's split. So here we go into the second Moto. Those are your starting positions for you guys, and here we are. We are green.
Jump back in here. So this race, I think we start off here with 8 people in this field, and it was just sort of a ragtag group, just getting who we could together. And we kind of built from there. Like you see throughout, if we do go to other season 3 races, I don't know if we will, but if we do go to other season 3 races throughout this series, you'll see that we do build the field continually throughout the season. You don't see all these people here in this first field. You'll see some of the main people return throughout the rest of the season, but a lot of this first race here, like I said, just a ragtag group of people. But then you recognize a lot of names that are still there today. Obviously, I'm still racing. Slaunch, Opix, can't be in this one too. Blades doesn't race anymore, but Blades raced for a while after this, so recognize his name as well. So yeah, a lot of that stuff did carry over, but we had to kind of get things together for this first race, just to kick us off and get us all back into the groove. And then after this first race, we had a few other people notice oh, this is happening again. It's actually going down. Maybe I should come back. And then that kind of just continued throughout the season. More and more people noticing it, that we were really getting seriously back into the racing, and that it just kind of blew up from there. Blew up for Halo 5 standards. Yeah, that's kind of how that worked out. And this race, a little insight onto the track. The track is actually, because I bet a lot of people won't even recognize this track. I don't know if they've seen it before. This track was forged by Armada. This is not like some of the other tracks, like for example Mirabilis, whereas Armada and I co-forging. This one was just all Armada himself. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, I don't think he had any help on this track. I mean, I could be wrong, but pretty sure it was just all him for this one. And just a classic track at the time. I think we may have raced this in FLR as well. We may have raced this in another HRL season too. I feel like this got raced 3 times. I'd have to double check on that, but I feel like this track's been raced at least three times before. So yeah, Magna Tempus, very early Halo 5 track, but very important at the time. This is one of the bigger GPs at the time, which is crazy because it might even be it's close, but it might even be under a minute lap time, which is just crazy. saying that it's one of the bigger GPs at the time. But yeah, the scale of the GPs that we see now, and just the tracks in general that we see now, not just for GP, but especially for GP, because this is a GP track we're looking at, it is insane how much that scale has raised. Even with the smaller tracks, just the stuff that we see, such a massive evolution. But I think that this track is a very good track to look at for how like these early Halo 5 tracks were. And I still appreciate Magna Tempus for what it was, even though that this track wouldn't really hold up to today's standards and probably wouldn't be appreciated by most of the drivers today. Like if it got thrown into the schedule now, probably wouldn't be too happy about it. I think that this track was still, like I said, great for the time, and it was a fun little track and had a minor skill gap to it, which is interesting because, not the craziest turns here, a lot of straightaways, stuff like that. But the turns that there were, you could make up time on, and it kind of made them more important because there were so few turns. Like if you messed up a turn, it was really costly on this track. This track was not very forgiving. You had to be on your marks, and if you crashed, like you were probably screwed, but you really had to be on top of your game here on Magna Tempus. And I was interested for this Moto 2. This Moto 2, you'll see, this Moto 2 gets really interesting, actually. It's a pretty hot race. I remember at the time I was looking forward to it because I thought, like, oh, this inverse order, like, this is going to make this Moto 2 insane because this track isn't the craziest track skill gap-wise, so we may see one of the slower drivers be able to really, like, hold out. Or one of the drivers that didn't have a great Moto 1. It actually ends up being Opex, who did have a pretty good Moto 1. So that was kind of interesting because, like I said, I expected it to be one of the drivers that was more so like in the back to really get up front early and hold out, but it ended up being Opex, and Opex did have a good race in the first Moto, so that was a little bit unexpected, but still, he was able to get out front and hold off, and I think right now in the race it's him holding off Slaunch in second, and the race just really gets crazy at the end, so we'll get to that here when that happens. But yeah, so this race was huge too because this was so we ran Halo 5 at one point. We had Season 1, which barely completed but did complete. We had Season 2, which got cut off halfway through because things just weren't really working out. The attendance wasn't really there, and yeah, we just needed to reevaluate. So took a break for a while. I went and did a lot of different stuff. I think that's where Season 2, once that got cut off, was where I especially like started with the with trying out COD and stuff like that. So, just like took a lot of time off of Halo racing, especially the management perspective and the racing itself. But then eventually we came back to it, and I switched my philosophy. So like what I was trying to do for Season 1, for Season 2, for MCC seasons of HRL, for even, I don't know about Halo 4, but yeah, like MCC when it wasn't really working out, Halo 5 when it wasn't really working out. The thing that I kept trying to do with HRL was like, oh, we're going to find new people, we're going to do this to find new people, we're going to use this website, we're going to share it through here, we're going to go in lobbies and ask people whatever, and we're going to find new people, and new people are going to be the key. What really changed here for Season 3 and why I think we flourished from Season 3 onwards pretty much, I mean, we've finished. I mean, obviously, of course, there's ups and downs. There always is ups and downs. It's always a roller coaster ride. This race is starting to get hot, by the way. But more or less, we've had a pretty steady ride since Season 3 up now to Season 11, like 2 years later. It's actually crazy. And I think that is due to the fact that for coming back here into this race, I switched up the philosophy, and I was like, you know what? Screw new people. Like, we'll try our hardest to find new people. What we really need is like a base set of people, a core group to keep things rolling, and then hopefully new people come from that, because even if we don't get new people for a while, or if a few new drivers quit, stuff like that, we'll always have that core group to keep things going. So that's where I messaged a lot of ORL people and stuff like that, old racers, old friends, whether it was through ORL, whether it was through Adrenaline, whether it was through many of the leagues that I've been through, and just messaging a shat load of people. Like, I had a list. I wish I could find this for this episode because that'd be cool, but I think I deleted it. But I had a list of drivers, I think from the ORL, I think from Adrenaline. I just got a fat list of drivers I knew from like all the leagues that I participated in. I literally went through that list, genuinely probably like 100 to 200 people, and messaged all of them. We should stop right here. I'll finish my point, then we'll get into this. Messaged all of them and built it back up through that method. And it started kind of small here with this first race, but then, like I said, throughout the rest of season 3, more of those people started to respond, more of those people started to come back, and it just kept building off that. We eventually did find that core group, and I think that core group is what has helped us, from season 3 on to now, is that we found our core group, and we're getting people to add to it here and there at this point, like every couple seasons, because obviously there's only so many people to work with. But I think Halo Infinite will reopen some of those opportunities to get new people. But in H5, I think that this strategy is what really put us back on the map. We found that core group, and then we were able to get some new drivers to add to that core group, and that kind of got us where we are today. So that switch in philosophy was huge. So for the race here, I think we had a fat lag spike, is what it says, and I believe these are facts. Like, there's just a fat lag spike out of nowhere, just something that could happen with Halo. So we had to set up for what just ended up happening to be a green-white checkered, because the lag spike was so close to the end of the race. So of course the first race back, and a freaking GP race where we didn't have cautions, would somehow find a way to ending in a green-white checkered. And I think I added a bunch of interesting stuff so far, a lot of insight. I think that was good for this episode. I'm just going to let old Luch carry it out here for the end.
On the screen, we had a lag spike that caused us to go into a green-white checkered, which is just going to be a 2 laps to go restart. Exciting finish for this second moto at Magna Tempus. Wait for the lights to go green, and they're green. We are off. Blades, Luke trying to make moves already. Everybody's going all over the place. Moto on the inside as well. Possibly a 3 wide there for a second. Oh, someone, I think that was Juns, gets shoved on the outside. BT and Moto there in 7th and 8th, or 6th and 7th, sorry. Battling extremely hard. Slaunch and Opix settle back into their 1st and 2nd place position. Revenge is still in 3rd. Luke looks like he's going to take over 4th from Blades, but then we have Moto somehow pulling out a move to the inside there. Can he complete it? No. Looks like he loses it. Blades still battling Luke for 4th, but Luke going steadfast on the outside, and it looks like he's going to complete it. Really close battle between Blades and Luke right there. And then now they're both going to gain on Revenge. Slaunch and Opix, though, that is the battle for the win. That is what we're going to focus on here. And right now, I think that at the moment, Opix has this overall wrapped up. But if Slaunch... Oh, Luke tries to make a move on Revenge and gets tapped on the inside. Revenge playing pretty defensive right there. And Luke is just going way too aggressive. Really fun battle to watch. I think that screwed Blades over more than anyone else, to be honest. He wasn't expecting Luke to get slowed up by like that, so he was following him and lost a lot of ground off of that incident. So Blades is definitely going to have to try to scrape together a good lap here if he wants to gain any positions and get it out of 5th. It looks like he should have Moto held off, but here's this top 4 battle. This is it. Any of these drivers could honestly win this with the way things have gone. If something just goes catastrophically wrong. Slaunch trying to make the move. Opix really defensive. Oh, Slaunch in the rocks again. Recovers quite quickly. Oh, there's Revenge. Slaunch has to play defensively on him. Revenge gets loose. Luke slips by. Revenge somehow saves it. Extremely close battle right here. Blades is going to try to make a move on Revenge. Slaunch is going to try to make a last-second move on Opix. There goes Slaunch. Can he do it? He's going for it. Opix goes defensive. Pushes him way down. And, oh, Slaunch hits the barrier. Opix gets him 2 wide. Slaunch hits the barrier. And Luke slips by for 2nd. Slaunch is going to get 3rd. Wow. Crazy finish right there. Let's watch a replay of that. As you can see, Opix getting really defensive right there. And that's going to cause Slaunch to go, just go all kinds of loose. And Revenge got affected by Slaunch trying to defend his position as well. So he got all kinds of loose. And that allowed Luke to slip up. Luke in like the last 2 corners goes from 4th to 2nd because of these incidents, and that actually gives Luke the overall. So because of those incidents, he was able to scrape out the overall by 1 point. 1 point. Opix is going to take your 2nd moto victory, however. First victory for him on the season.
So that was funny because Opix kind of screwed himself there. I think he had the moto. I think he had the overall. If he didn't get Slaunch into the barrier there, like if he would have just held the middle and let Slaunch get 2nd, I don't know. I don't think it was probably like screen lag. I don't think he knew he was that close, but it's just kind of a funny way that situation worked out. Oh, because look, we actually had 3 heats. I think somebody had to quit out before the feature, so I think we originally had 9 people, so we did 3 heats of 3 for this race. I think that's how it worked out. Oh, look at how the schedule changed too. Because a lot of these tracks, a lot of these tracks weren't even. This schedule must have seen a lot of changes because, like Chili Village, it's not even a track. I think Chili Village is what eventually became Chili Cove. I think it just changed the name. But Minquin SX, like what the hell is that? Sheboygan Speedway. I actually know what that is, but I don't think we ended up racing it this season. Also, the dates were wrong order there for some reason. I believe we didn't race Victoria Field either. And then New Oval Track, I mean, that ended up being whatever it was. Carpinteria Beach did not get raced this season. Carpinteria Beach got raced in the next season. And then Alpine Run did get raced in the champ. The other two spots were unconfirmed. So it's crazy how much evolution this schedule saw. That's actually kind of a cool insight there. I don't even remember half this stuff. But yeah, that ending to the race was just hilarious the way that worked out because it's just such a weird situation. One, because Opix, if it weren't for the lag spike, that was the very unfortunate thing. If it weren't for the lag spike, I think with the way the order was, he probably would have had that locked up, that second moto in the overall. So that was the first unfortunate thing. The second unfortunate thing was the screen lag. I don't think he knew how close he was running Sludge off the track, and if he didn't get him into the barrier, I wouldn't have slipped by, and if I didn't slip by right there, I would not have gotten the overall. So like, Opix literally handed me the overall there at the end. So that was just like really dumb. It was a really dumb way that worked out, but just funny looking back at it, and just a crazy finish too. Like that was actually a really good race for it being like this returning race. But yeah, I think that's about it here. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of a good old HRL history action. Hope you guys enjoyed the surprise of a early Halo 5 race. We could go even earlier than this, but I decided to go for Season 3 just because this one's like the most important. But I will do some of those early Season 1 races. A lot of people probably aren't even going to remember those. Maybe even a Season 2 race in there. I don't know. We'll get to those eventually. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you for the next episode of HRL History. I think we'll probably do a couple more races before we get into some good old interview cheese. Cheese Bonner.